Welcome to the Non-Obvious Beyond Diversity Summit. I am your host, Rohit Bhargava, and I am unbelievably excited to welcome you to the show. We have an action-packed time for you, and this is an introduction to what has become a huge summit. So welcome to all of you. I'm very, very excited to introduce multiple things at this show. Oh, we've got so many things planned. So we're going to give you a exclusive inside look at the next 4 days of the summit, including a trailer that we have not yet premiered. So it's a never before seen trailer that you're going to get in just a few minutes. And after that, we're going to welcome our special guest, Maysoon Zayid, who is an amazing comedian, a personality, and just a fascinating story. And I think you're really going to enjoy that. Before we do that, I just wanted to take a moment to talk about why we're doing the summit in the first place. So diversity and inclusion has been a hot topic recently. And there's so many different summits that talk about this, so many different events and books and conversations. And one of the things we realized when we looked at this last year was that all of these conversations seemed to be happening one by one, but there didn't seem to be a place where they were all happening together. And if you look at the program that we've put together for this summit, it is absolutely phenomenal, but it's across so many different industries, sectors. We've brought in so many different partners, and we're so grateful to all of them to be able to put this show on and bring all of these voices together. As of right now, we've got more than 200 speakers. We've got 54 sessions planned for you. And over the next 4 days, there's going to be a new session released every hour. So no matter what time zone you're watching in, you'll be able to check it out and see all of the different sessions, see all of the different content, and reply to it. I mean, participate in it. So everything's going to be premiering online, but there'll be live chats happening as we go. You're seeing some comments flash up on the screen right now. We're already getting some engagement, which is just fantastic. And I think there's going to be so much more over the next 4 days. So I am super, super excited. I want to deliver a very, very heartfelt thank you to some of our partners that helped us to make this a reality. SRC partners, the FemWord, Pass the Mic Media, Disability In, Getty Images, Sync Words to helping us do the captioning. There's so many different partners that have been involved in this. And if you do manage to go to the website, check out the partners, check out what they do, because they are all experts in this space. And it is a phenomenal, phenomenal honor for us to be involved with them. And it's not certainly not a one-man show. That is clear. It's definitely not been a 2 or 3 person show either. We've had a huge team of not only those partners, but interns that have jumped in and helped. We have the entire teams at Non-Obvious Company and Idea Press Publishing that have also helped. So many people have supported this, and I'm just really, really grateful to all of them. Let's get going. We have a trailer that I want to share with you to just give you a little taste of the summit, and then we're going to jump straight into the interview and jump straight into the show for the opening session. So let's play that trailer right now.
I am a citizen of the Navajo Nation.
I'm third-generation women entrepreneur.
I am a military husband, so my wife is a U.S. Army officer.
I'm one of the co-founders and executive director of the Center for Black Innovation.
When I was growing up, I was the only Chinese girl in my neighborhood.
So I'm an artist, right? I make music.
I am an assistant professor at the University of California, Riverside, and I'm the president-elect and co-founder of the Society of Black Archaeologists.
I'm a 3-time national ballroom dance champion. I'm a 2-time marathoner, and I hold the Guinness World Record for heaviest woman to complete a marathon.
I am a Hollywood makeup artist.
I'm a book festival director.
I was the first American Muslim woman author to be published in the U.S. from India.
I have worked at Google for 19 years.
I just did 26 marathons back to back for 9 days.
I am a Chinese female. I was adopted by white British parents.
I am in the diversity, equity, and inclusion space and have been in it for, almost 14 years now.
Welcome to the Non-Obvious Beyond Diversity Summit. My name is Mohammed Rajat, TV, film writer, comedian, DJ.
Welcome to the Non-Obvious Beyond Diversity Summit. I'm your host, Monica Samtani, and I'm the founder of Ms. Media and the FemWord.
Welcome to the Non-Obvious Beyond Diversity Summit.
It is very difficult to come in as an outsider and to succeed. Our system is built
to reward incumbents and reward, if you will, the wealthy.
You're seen as other from society. You're seen as not as good. You're seen as not intelligent. You're seen as, people are surprised that I work. People are surprised that I have a boyfriend. And this isn't just my story. This is the story of so many disabled people across the world.
I want to hear the action that somebody actually took because they were educated by a disabled person. Not like, I'm so tired of coming off a stage or a microphone and being told, oh, you inspired me so much. I don't care. Instead, tell me that you were so pissed off by what I said that you fought for change in your community, that you were so upset about, what I woke you up to, that you went and talked to your autistic relative about the fact that they're autistic and your family shames them all the time.
Because for a while, I think I was so worried about being perceived as an angry Black woman. God forbid you step out of line.
Absolutely.
Yeah, to be honest with you, I'm okay being seen as that because I am an angry Black woman, and there's lots of reasons why I am an angry Black woman.
It is okay to tell a community of Black women gamers, I want to know more about what the experience of being a Black woman gamer is like and how it affects gaming, because I want to make my product more diverse. I want to make my game more inclusive.
A puppeteer simply takes a story and makes it a visual experience.
Someone who they've never seen someone like before, and it really just affects how people react to us in everyday life. And that is why authentic storytelling is so important, because it does impact every aspect of life.
I'm often, if not always, either the only female speaker or the only millennial speaker or the only Asian speaker or all of the above.
Sometimes when you're being told, hey dog, you missed the point, they be like, oh, you calling me stupid? I'm like, well, nah, but what you doing now, stupid. So,
so what we do in Soy Super Papa is we foster a culture of active fatherhood and equity.
Rural America does not equal white America necessarily. 22% of rural residents are people of color, and estimates are now suggesting that 15 to 20% of the LGBTQ community lives in rural America.
We think a lot about intersectionality at Glad Day. So sort of, even though we're an LGBTQ bookstore, we're certainly not sort of a single issue kind of store.
If diversity is what you're going for, you need to prioritize that in your booking practices.
I remember looking up at one of the screens and, we had all the screens there. And I remember thinking, there's no Black person there. But given the relationship that China had with Africa, it didn't make sense. And so I said, I will be the first one. I didn't know how, but I just said that.
We love these emerging leaders programs where we pick a small handful of people and develop them. But women can't afford that. We need to all be developed.
Doing the work to show up for women also means you have to learn how best to show up for men who are in their own way.
We all take for granted that, we just pop our computers open and get on the World Wide Web and we know where to go and what to do. Well, for a lot of people, that's not the case.
Here is that you transform, don't put more layers on and not deal with the thing that you're protecting in the center.
I often tell a little joke amongst CEOs and CMOs, say Muslims, they buy stuff and everyone laughs and then everyone feels a bit nervous and says, yeah, it's true.
I have one final question for everybody. It is the title of this, we're going to say it all at once, but it's the title of this session. Is diversity funny? I'm going to count down from 3, and then everyone is going to give their response at the same time, and then we will fight for the last few minutes of this. Is diversity funny? 3, 2, 1.
That is just one of the questions that we are going to get answered. That was the ultimate cliffhanger right there. But that is one of the questions that will get answered during this summit. And those are just a few of the sessions. We have way more. We were not able to include everyone in that trailer. And it was already kind of a long trailer. I mean, if you think about it. And even then, we've got even more conversations. So thank you for being a part of this. Thank you for being along this journey with us. We are unbelievably excited to share all of that content with you over the next 4 days. That's what's in store. But right now, I am delighted to welcome my guest to the show, Maysoon Zayid. Welcome to the Non-Obvious Beyond Diversity Summit. It is so good to see you.
Hi, everybody. I'm so happy to be the opener. And yes, diversity is funny.
I knew you would say that.
Of course
and
it
that's
is.
actually, I mean, that's a great place to start because you are very funny. And I've been watching all of your videos and I've been so excited to talk to you as part of this show because...
Which is amazing because I was super difficult to you when you invited me.
You know,
I got invited
you
to
don't
the
know me. It's a cold email. You know, I appreciate that. You know, like you probably get lots of random emails from random people. You
And
don't
what's
know
the
who's
first
doing
thing
what.
I always ask? What's
Yeah.
the first thing I always ask?
Is it paid? Was
Yes.
one of the first things.
That
I
is
think.
the first thing I always ask. Let that be a lesson to you. Never ever do work for free unless it's for Rohit.
I'm going to use that as my new tagline across my show. I love that. No, but I mean, you did agree to do it. And I think it was partially because, you know, you looked at this lineup and one of the amazing things that we have at the summit is total pay equity. Nobody got paid. And you know, I'm not saying that with pride because we like not paying people. I'm saying that because it's a free event,
Right.
and everyone thought it was important enough to get involved. And by the way, one of the things that we made a big commitment to is bringing a lot of people who organize events, who do have budgets, to be in the audience. And many of them are watching right now. And we want to get you. I mean, you're probably more well-known than many of the other speakers that we do have in the summit, but they're amazing. They're amazing talent and underappreciated. And one of the intents of this entire thing is to put them on the radar because we got to share the stage. And I know you've done this a lot in your career. And as you've achieved more fame and gotten more notoriety, like you've really tried to give back and open that stage for other people. So maybe let's start with that. How much time and effort do you kind of spend thinking about being a door opener for others right now?
None. It's just something that I inherently do. I became a stand-up comic a year before 9/11. And right after 9/11 happened, Dino Bidala, who is my partner in comedy crime, reached out to me and was like, hey, let's do something that like pushes back against the negative images of Arabs and Muslims in media post 9/11 and in the run up to the Iraq War. And I was like, okay, nobody's going to come to the show, but that's cool. I need spots. Let's do it. And so we set up something called the New York Arab American Comedy Festival. And this is really, this is my fun fact. The reason I said yes is because one of the first people that ever worked in the festival with us is Meha Shahlawi, and she's on the lineup. And it was Meha that made me say yes. When I saw her face, I was like, okay, full circle. So we did this festival, and our goal was to put super funny, super talented people on the stage. And I think that's also always the goal of my work. My goal is not to educate. I'm not a preacher. I am a teacher. I do teach at universities. I teach stand-up comedy and I teach about ableism. But when I'm on stage, I'm not a preacher. I'm not a teacher. I'm there to make you laugh. I'm there to entertain. So I don't spend too much time thinking about what I'm doing. I just do it. And I do it in a way that people can't say no to me, because if they do, I'll shame them. So when I sell a TV
you do have a trump
show,
card in your back pocket there.
Can we not use that word? It's
yeah,
Voldemort.
sorry, that's a bad. Yeah,
I have a
bad
Voldemort
way of saying it.
Yeah,
you have like
we
a
don't
wild
say that
card,
word.
maybe. Yeah. Sorry, my bad.
Hi, Sue Abedi. I just saw Sue Abedi out there.
Yeah, she's great. She's one of our speakers and was amazing. Yes.
I want to throw this out about opening doors, because I think that one of the things that resonated with me in the trailer was the Asian girl saying, sometimes I'm the only millennial, sometimes I'm the only Asian, sometimes I'm the only woman. Well, when you're disabled, 99% of the time you're the only person, right? Because I work in media. We're over 20% of the population, only 2% of the images you see on screen, 95% played by non-disabled people. So when I go in and sell a show, I put in my contract, 20% on screen has to be disabled, 20% behind the scenes and crew have to be disabled. Now, this is a challenge because a lot of disabled people don't have access to get the experience they need to, say, be an assistant director or showrunner. So as you're kicking open the doors, I also include paid apprenticeships so that people who never had the chance to get that experience do get it. And the corporation knows, like, we're going to fill these numbers. We're going to build stuff universally accessible. And then when they build stuff universally accessible, they realize it doesn't cost more. It's actually a money saver, because when you make stuff accessible for disabled people, it's easier for everyone.
Yeah, it's so many. There's so many examples of that. I remember looking at and reading about a story of I think it was Herbal Essences shampoo that put lines or dots on the back of shampoo or conditioner so that people with
Right.
visual impairments could tell which one was which. And I was sort of joking about the fact that, like, yeah, that's useful for people with visual impairments, but also it's useful for anyone who has their eyes closed in the shower. Which is
And shampoo
literally
your hair
everybody.
is soap in your eyes. Like, everybody's visually impaired in the shower. You know what I mean? That's yeah. But it's a constant battle to convince people of our humanity. And, like, I'm a multiple minority. I'm not just a disabled chick. I'm Palestinian. When you walk into a room and tell people you're Palestinian, a lot of them react like you're saying that you're the Taliban or you're the Proud Boys or that you're ISIS. They don't understand that it's a nationality. They don't know. And it's like, I'm going in to, like, entertain, sell my wares. And instead I find myself like, okay, now we're going to have a lesson about the history of the Middle East. And now we're going to talk about what's ableist vocabulary. And so one of the things that we battle is that disability is always left out of the diversity conversation. So you'll have people, be like, we're going to focus on women and the LGBTQ community and people of color. And we're like, disabled people are all of those things.
Yeah, it's the largest group. I mean, it's the largest diverse group in terms of people coming from all different spaces and having some type of disability. And it was fascinating because as we were organizing the summit, one of the things we tried to look at is, who's never invited to diversity events. And you're right. It's people with disabilities. It's people with neurodiversity. So, people with autism or different things that are considered kind of neurodiversity. It's also the conversation.
And another thing that we hear, another thing that we hear all the time with events is, like, I say, okay, do you have an interpreter? Is it accessible? And they say, no, we don't have any disabled people here. And I'm like, you don't know that. Not all disabilities are visible. Invisible disabilities are disabilities. Like, some people are like, no, I'm talking about physical. I'm like, no, they're all physical. Every disability you have is a physical disability, whether you can see it or not. So we do visible and invisible. And, like, just for people who don't know, invisible disabilities can be everything like chronic pain and fibromyalgia to, like, depression and mental health issues, to things like autism or being deaf that people don't immediately know. Like, when people see me, they think I'm drunk. They don't think I'm disabled. They're like, oh, chick should not be driving, but it's visible. It's something I can't pass. I can't hide it. People with invisible disabilities can pass and hide it. And the goal has to be to create a space where they never feel the need to.
I love that so much. And I think that one of the things that you do through your humor, and one of the things that you talk about quite a lot, is it isn't the sort of disability that you can hide, but in fact, you go the opposite direction. Like, you put it front and center. You talk about it in your comedy shows in the beginning. You really disarm people because you start with that. Like, you start with that as part of your shows, and then you have a deeper point. You can get to the other things. And pretty quickly, when people are listening to you and experiencing this, watching you perform, they might see the disability first, but within 5 minutes, they're like, she's just funny. Like, she's just on stage and she's just making me laugh. And
that's the goal.
Perception.
The goal is not for people to forget it. I'm having the worst hair day ever. Everybody go to
No, you look great.
No, everybody go to Maysoon.com and see how good my hair is. I washed it too close to right now, and it looks greasy and stringy, but it's actually wet. So
maybe if you had that special shampoo with the bumps.
The herbal essences. No, I use
They did not sponsor, but maybe we'll go after them next year. Now that we
go after paroxysm. I don't even know what we were talking about, but
I don't think it was
important to tell you. No, it was something important. Now I forgot. Oh, terrible.
It was
You
about
remember-
hair, but I think your hair day currently is great. So I
No,
did not
it's
notice.
only if I go like this, then
Yeah.
it's great. Anyway, do you remember what the question was? I had such a good answer for you.
I don't remember what the question was. It seems it probably wasn't all that good. I could probably do better. Give me another chance. Maybe I'll come up with something better.
I'm
How
going
about
to pay attention and stop staring at myself. This is why I miss being on stage. I could look lovingly at the audience instead of just being like, oh, why is it darker under this? Wait, I can't even put the right eye because everything is reversed.
Well, I mean, your mention of staring at oneself actually.
Oh no, we
reminded me
were
that one
talking
of the
about comedy. This is actually
No.
super important. No,
All
this
right,
is
okay, go.
important. The reason that I talk about my disability right off the top, I have like 3. So I freestyle when I do my comedy. I don't like write it out or memorize it, but I always open with one of 3 jokes where I either say in the Oppression Olympics, I'd win a gold medal. I'm Palestinian, I'm Muslim, I'm a woman of color, I'm divorced, disabled, and live in New Jersey. If you don't feel better about yourself, maybe you fucking should. Or I open with, I'm not drunk, but the doctor who delivered me was. The reason that is because I took a stand-up comedy class right before I became a comedian. And I went up and I did like all these dirty jokes about the Virgin Mary. And I was like really edgy. And my comedy instructor, this guy named Mike Irwin, said to me, what is going on with you? And I was like, oh, I have CP. And he said, well, you have to tell the audience that. And I was like, no, I don't want to be like a disabled comic. I don't feel like talking about CP. He said, if you don't, they're going to spend the whole set thinking you're either nervous or you're drunk. And audiences don't like that. So at the beginning of my comedy career, I came up with, hi, my name is Maysoon Zayid. I'm a Palestinian Muslim virgin with cerebral palsy from New Jersey. And that was my intro. And what I did was I buried my disability in it so they knew, but it wasn't all it was about. But when you're talking about not being defined by your disability, we don't want people to look at us the way they say, I don't see color. You're not disabled. You're perfect. No, I am disabled. There's no shame in the world in that word.
Yeah.
I'm not special needs. I'm not differently abled. I'm disabled.
Well, that's what you hear kind of over and over when you talk to people who work in the world of disability or who have disabilities. They say like a lot of these words that we have are come up with by able-bodied people who want to feel better about it. And I know one of the things that you talk about a lot is that you had the opportunity to define for yourself how you were going to talk about it, in part because you didn't grow up with social media. And I think that's such an important and interesting perspective.
Yes.
Where you say, look, I would not be who I am today if I was growing up and I had social media when I was younger. So talk a little about that.
So that comes from 2 different aspects. One is there's something called inspiration porn. And inspiration porn is when you see a clip of a disabled person and your first reaction is, oh my God, someone cut onions. I'm crying, right? People are always crying at the inspirational disabled.
It's so inspirational.
And so I tell a story about how when I was born, the doctors told my parents I wouldn't walk. Now, there's no shame in not walking or using any mobility device you need. But like I was born before the Americans with Disabilities Act. Hard to believe because cinnamon don't crack. But my dad was determined to teach me how to walk. And he used to dangle a dollar bill in front of me and I would chase it. Oh, there he is. I love him. Allah yarhamu. And I think that if he posted it online, and I became this freak that people were cheering for that was stripped of my humanity. So often when you see these videos, it's like captain of the football team takes wheelchair user to the prom. Well, maybe the wheelchair user is way cooler than the captain of the football team. Maybe he's lucky to be going with her. So I think of this idea of like, if my parents were posting me for clicks and I had a martyr mom, there's these things called
or
martyr
you had like
moms.
an unboxing YouTube channel.
Yeah, they'd be unboxing me as I like went to physical therapy. But you have this thing called martyr moms, and martyr moms go on and they post a picture of their 16-year-old having his diaper changed on the floor in a restroom. And they're like, we should have adult changing tables. And their martyrdom is fine, but what they're doing is they're violating the privacy of their child. They're taking away choice from the disabled child to share their disability, their personal obstacles with the world. I love telling the story of chasing a dollar bill. But if I was a 5-year-old and other kids in school were making fun of me because they saw the video where I had to be paid to walk, it could be really damaging. So I think that it's a tough straddle for parents of disabled kids, because you can be a disabled parent or a non-disabled parent of a disabled kid. And what I'll tell you is share like anyone else would share. And do not share private moments unless your disabled child at the age of consent can tell you. So don't ask 3-year-old Bobby if he wants his video posted, because 3-year-old Bobby doesn't understand what that means. The second thing is disabled kids are bullied non-stop, day and night. So when I went to school, nobody bullied me. Nobody made fun of me. I grew up in a small Catholic town in New Jersey. Everybody knew everybody. And my friends' parents would have like slipper slapped them if they made fun of the disabled kid. But when disabled kids reach out to me, they tell me that they are bullied mercilessly, and that's nonstop because of social media. So they're not just bullied in school, they're bullied all day and all night. And that type of thing, like when I made my television debut, people wrote stuff like, she's a Gumby mouth terrorist whore. She looks like she was slapped in the face with a frying pan. I want to just rip her lip off. It keeps shaking. If I was a kid, I would quit. I wouldn't go on TV. I wouldn't be down to be made fun of day and night. But like, I'm an adult. I'm strong. I was taught to be proud. I was taught that if someone asked me what's wrong with you, I say nothing's wrong with me. I have cerebral palsy. What's wrong with you? Why do you ask questions like that? Did your mother not teach you any manners? And so when I get mocked online, it doesn't make me say, I'm not going on screen.
Well, and you had
it does make me say, how do I stop that from happening to other kids? And since I can't stop it from happening, how do I get them to believe what I believe, which is you can't let strangers control you.
Yeah, I mean, it's so important. And I remember you telling this really powerful story of being a child and being in some of these dance recitals and having a standing ovation every time, and not really thinking, being a child, that it was because of your disability. You were just thinking they loved you because you were a great dancer.
Exactly.
And you didn't have social media to kind of convince you otherwise. And and I think to some degree, it's like this idea that all of us who are adults now who grew up without social media, like we have the luxury of remembering ourselves better than we were. We don't have proof otherwise. And
that's totally what it is.
They do. And it's tough. It's hard.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting you remind me of that, because if I had like a video of me, dancing on Point to Wind Beneath My Wings going viral, and then having people say it made them cry, that would have destroyed. And I am who I am, and I respond to emails the way I do because I believe those standing ovations. So I was a 5-year-old who wasn't inspirational. I was badass. I was going to Broadway, and then when I tried to go to Broadway, that's when I realized the stigma against disability in Hollywood and entertainment is just the worst.
Well, but you did achieve your dream for a long time, which is you would say over and over again. You wanted to be on General Hospital.
On General Hospital.
And you made it there. I mean, you got onto there, and you had a really unique recurring role there as well. So talk a little bit about that.
I have a unique recurring role. I've been on the bench since January 27th because of the pandemic.
Okay.
But as soon as I'm double vaccinated,
I got way behind on my General Hospital watching, so I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Now I know.
As soon as I'm double vaccinated, I go back on. So here's the deal. My parents didn't monitor my television watching, which they should have, but they absolutely did not. So I was 5 years old watching a daytime soap opera in America called General Hospital. And they're kind of racy. There's a lot of like cheating and sex and people killing each other and mobs. And I loved General Hospital. My dream
Woman babies, I think, are part of the storyline too, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure. But also evil twins and people coming back from the dead and disabled people getting healed. It's like a big thing, right?
Yeah.
And so my dream in life was to be on General Hospital. But when I went and studied theater at Arizona State University, and when I started auditioning, I realized that people on TV didn't look like me. So I got into stand-up comedy because that's where weirdos fit in. That's where you had Richard Pryor, the original shaking comic, Ellen, Mimi from the Drew Carey Show. So I became a comic and I got super successful. And when I got super successful, I made a habit of mentioning General Hospital in every interview I ever did. So I was on 60 Minutes.
That is a killer strategy.
Hospital.
So smart.
Yes. And right after my father passed away, I took 1 year off of stand-up comedy and I wrote about Palestine for the Daily Beast. And I found a way to write an article comparing Yasser Arafat to Luke from General Hospital, just so I could still get that in. And then literally 20 years later, Frank Valentini, the executive producer of General Hospital, reached out to me and he was like, hey, we hear you're like a super fan and we're going to write you into the show. And they wrote me as cutthroat shark lawyer Zara Amir. And what's so cool about it is Zara's not written as disabled. She's disabled because I am. We've never acknowledged it. We've never apologized for it. I'm trying to get Nell off after she murdered her baby's father and also kind of help kidnap it. I don't have a time to talk about neurological disorders. And Zara is so groundbreaking because she cannot be healed by love.
And is that what the future of kind of inclusion looks like, where we just you just are disabled, but it's not like the central thing that you talk about?
It's a couple of different things, right? Because we don't want to erase the fact that disability does affect life, right? So yes, I want to see shows like, like Grey's Anatomy, where people start the show disabled and don't just lose a leg in an accident that they have to CGI out for the rest of the season. I want sitcoms where the teacher is is a ambulatory wheelchair user. But I also want stories written by and told by disabled people, because we have stories to tell and we don't get to tell them. And when non-disabled people write about us, we're only allowed to have 3 storylines. You can't love me because I'm disabled, heal me, or kill me. There's a whole genre of movies where the world is better off after the disabled person dies. And everybody loved them, but now they're in heaven and Susie can date the able-bodied guy that can skate with her after Jordan couldn't. And we need disabled people writing stories with disabled characters so that when our disability is in play, when it is important to the storyline, it gets the respect that it needs. So I don't want it all to be neutral. Everybody ignore the fact that I can't carry a glass. But like, I wrote a road trip movie set in 1999, the week before Christmas and New Year's 2000. And the character's disabled and people were like, can her breakup be due to her disability? And I'm like, no. But her exhaustion halfway through the trip where she wants to quit because she can't unbend her legs anymore can be. So like, I'm okay with like in the future, if Zara, finds a love interest and they have to have a conversation about whether or not she can have children due to her disability, that would be amazing. But there's no reason to be like, hi, Your Honor, I can't rise when you say rise because I can't stand. So can I just sit? Like, we don't have to do that.
It's real.
And
it's
real.
It's real. And that's so important. I mean, one of the other interviews that we have as part of the summit, I spoke to Anish Chaganti, who's the director of a couple of films, and his latest film is called Run, and it's a thriller, and the central character in it is a disabled girl who's in a wheelchair, and he talks about the process of casting and actually finding an actress who was in fact in a wheelchair. And the first day when they got to the set, she looked around. A lot of the movie takes place in her bedroom and in the home, and she looked at the room and said, look, this is not how my room would look like.
This doesn't work.
Way too high.
It's too high.
And so they fixed it. And that's like such a powerful example of including somebody who understand that lived experience, and then listening to their suggestions and listening to them when they say, look, this isn't what it would actually be. It should be this instead.
I think we should have the audience ask a question.
Yeah, let's see if there are some audience questions.
No, I'm hijacking this because I need someone to, like, I want to see what your questions are. Otherwise, I'll just keep rambling.
Yeah, so let's turn to social media and see if we've got a question that we can pull in to here. So,
hi, Maysoon, you are a hero. You are a rock star. Thank you for your perseverance. Wait, there's no question. Sue, we need a question.
Dude, this is like awesome props.
Who's the best
this was not
celebrity you
a
ever
question.
met?
Yeah, so
What's your biggest regret? What would you do over?
Hopefully the biggest regret isn't happening right now. So, at least we'll,
I bet you're having me be the opening session, because I'm like, what are we doing? Squirrel, look at my eye. It protects me from people jinxing me.
That is important. We have one of those over here somewhere too. So, hey, while we're waiting for some questions, look, I cannot complete an interview without asking you about Beyonce. Not Beyonce the singer, but the other Beyonce. So tell us about the other Beyonce.
So there she is. Look at my baby. She has no ears. I'm a childless person, and I have a cat. And I love my cat, and my cat's name is Beyonce. And the reason my cat's name is Beyonce is because if I had ever had a child, whether it was a boy or a girl, I would name it Beyonce, because Beyonce is the greatest. So my cat is a damaged Scottish fold. So she has no ears. Her ears are always folded down. So she looks eternally shocked. And people on social media are constantly like, your cat's scared, your cat's uncomfortable, your cat's mad. And I'm like, no, she always looks like that. And she's 5 years old, and she followed a legendary cat named Lucy, who was 17 when she crossed the Rainbow Bridge. And Beyonce tours
human years.
Yeah.
Wow.
I treat my cats good. They live
really,
a really good life.
Like a cat mansion over there. I think
I do. I have a cat mansion.
Cats will be watching this, aspiring to be in your.
They do. I see the outdoor cats looking in and being like, "Oh, if we could live like cats." But she tours with me. She flies all over America with me. So she's a traveling cat, and she goes right under the seat in front of me on airlines, and everyone can see her on Maysoon.com. What is your dream role now that you have been on General Hospital? I want to do a Christmas movie with Dolly Parton. I love Dolly Parton. She's an angel walking in rhinestone stilettos among us. And because I'm Palestinian, I love Christmas, because Christmas was born in Palestine, i.e. Jesus. And so my dream role is doing Christmas movie with Dolly Parton. And also I'm obsessed with becoming a co-host on The View. The View's been on TV for 21 years, and they've never had a visibly disabled co-host. And I think like that could totally change the conversation.
I am almost positive you have producers for both of those things watching right now. So this may be
and they still won't put me on. I was sitting at a disability and fashion show right next to Candace Cable, who is like the executive producer, can do everything. Literally made them change her seat. She was so sick of me. So I was like, want to have a hot topic? And she was like, go away. I'm never getting on The View. It's over. Does the industry need hired diversity whisperers? No, they need to be shamed, and they need to understand that disabled people have the buying power of the entire country of China. $8 trillion. People don't think of us as viewers. They don't think of us as buyers. They don't think of us as audience. And what they need to understand is that A, we make them money. B, if you do not do things authentically and you cast Bryan Cranston as a paraplegic, or you put, Maddie Ziegler as someone with autism, we will destroy your movie. No one will come and see it. We are disabled. We've been stuck indoors since March until we get vaccinated, because this pandemic is super high risk for a lot of us. We've got nothing but time. So if you don't do the right thing, we will end you.
sounds a little bit like the rules for Comic-Con in terms of like you don't piss off the fans that are already there. All right, we have another question. What was your career path similar to other comedians? So talk a little bit about being a comedian.
Yes and no. So as I said, I became a comic as like a gateway to get into television, and it worked. Take a class. Definitely, absolutely take a class. I took a class at Caroline's Comedy Club. The class forced us to go to open mics. So I was immediately on stage. I never had to have that like, oh my God, I gotta go on stage. I don't want to go on stage. I was required to for the class. So I had to go. And then the last class of the arc, we got to perform live at Caroline's Comedy Club. So I did my first live show, and that's when my comedy career took a detour. Most comics struggle for years and years and years until they get discovered. I was discovered at my third show. I was making like massive amounts of money within a year.
Wait, what does that mean when you say like when you say you got discovered? Like, does that mean somebody famous saw you and then said, "Hey, you got to book her"?
No. Another comedian saw me and had me open for them. And then right after I opened for them, I got invited to do another show, and Dino Bidala was at that show. Dino Bidala and I joined forces to do the New York Arab American Comedy Festival, which turned into the Arabs Gone Wild Live Nation Tour. So we were doing shows for thousands of people like my third year because I was really, really good. And I met someone who knew everything about comedy, got me an agent. Like Dean got me an agent at William Morris Endeavor. I don't think if I didn't have an agent, I could have been making that much money, because agents were like, no, you don't do shit for exposure. You can make X amount of dollars. Like colleges have budgets. Don't listen to Harvard when they say that they don't pay. Like, go to the community college.
It's amazing where money gets found somehow for things when you get that. Yeah.
I do have advice for up and coming comics. Every single morning, you have to write 1 hour of jokes. Don't say you can't think of anything. Just sit down and write. Write about what angers you. Write about how you slept. Write about what's going on in your day. Write about your family. Write about pop culture. Every single day, write jokes. Do every open mic you can in the beginning. Go to 5, 6, 7 a week. Don't get discouraged that no one's laughing. Most comics are just paying attention to their own set, so they're not going to laugh at you. That's the challenge. Get a comic to laugh and you're ready for prime time. Because if you can crack them, then you can crack another audience.
They're the top audience, right? They're the ones that you start with. I love that. We had maybe
people tell you to produce your own show. Don't, because they don't tell you how expensive it is. Don't do it. Go jump on the bandwagon of other people who are already producing.
You're dropping all kinds of like gold mines here. I feel like we should do a course on all this stuff. This is so good.
I taught at Arizona State University and at New York University, and then next fall I'm teaching at a very fancy Ivy League school, but I can't tell you till February.
That's okay. We'll stay tuned, and then we'll just immediately enroll there as soon as we find out.
Monica wants to know, what is my favorite show right now with disabled characters? I have so few to pick from. There's almost none, but I'm pick Rami, because Rami on Hulu has this amazing character played by Steve Way. He's the lead's best friend, and he's just so funny. But it's hard for me to pick because all disabled people on TV are cisgendered straight white men that are disabled. Like, there's not a lot of people of color. I love Natasha O'Feely on The Politician. She's incredible. I hated American Freak Show by Ryan Murphy. I didn't like that, like, our big chance to have a bunch of disabled people on screen. We were playing freaks, so I could have lived without that. But I'll say Rami and The Politician, which also has Ryan Dad.
We have one of the writers actually who worked on Rami as part of the summit later on as well, and that's a great show for sure.
Who do you have?
I don't remember. Maybe Chubby remembers, and she can put it up on screen. because I did some of the panels, but not all of them. So now you're putting me on the spot because I wasn't working.
See,
on that.
this
But
is
I know
what
that
happens
they'll put that
when
in
they don't pay you. They don't even remember your name. If money was involved, Rohit could rattle that shit off.
I only know you as MZ. I forgot your name because you didn't even put it on your thing. Like that's how.
Do you not know what my name is?
No, I know what your name is, but
do you know what my name means?
No, you should tell me that. That's important.
So all Arabic names have a meaning, and when your parents don't know what your name means, they lie to you. If you're a girl, they tell you it's a beautiful heavenly flower. If you're a boy, they tell you it's a lion. And my parents were lying, so I thought I was a beautiful heavenly flower. Maysoon means lemur.
Lemurs are fun. I actually spent a lot of time with lemurs because I went to Madagascar last year.
I am a brown woman named Monkey. That is not fun.
No, have you ever actually been close to a lemur, like a real lemur? They're so cute.
I searched them out after I knew they were my namesakes. The Bronx Zoo in New York.
Lemurs are great. They're so well. There's a lot of different. I don't want to diverge onto this. I guess onto the lemur
topic. How many people thought the non-obvious insight show was going to be lemur centric?
This is the number one show among lemurs. In fact, the only problem is I'm trying to get other audiences, and I think what I say only appeals to lemurs. So, go figure.
Well, people always think that what I say only appeals to city folk, and they're like, "Will they get her in Arkansas?" And I'm like, "Yes, they will." It's so interesting how to prove that to producers. Again, it comes full circle to stand-up comedy. I'm so lucky I did shows in Arkansas, Nashville, and Mississippi. And so whenever they're like, we don't know if Middle America can get her. And I'm like, they do. I think I'm inspirational and they want to make my wish come true.
All right. So I do have an answer for you. We had Amir Soleimani and Sahar Jahani, writers.
I like Sahar. I don't know Amir, but I do like Sahar. Okay, what's your final question before I go to my UNCRPD? If that's going to be on Instagram Live, you can.
My final question. That's perfect. My final question really relates to everything that we've been doing around this summit, which is to go beyond conversation. I mean, we intentionally described and themed this event beyond diversity because we didn't want it to just result in like a black square going on Twitter. We wanted people to really shift their perception, really do something different. So if you could have that soapbox and just say to people, look, here's what the one thing you can do, whether they are disabled or they aren't, to just, help promote a more inclusive world, to help be more open-minded. Like, what would that one thing be that they could do?
Okay. So if you look around the room you're in, at the cast you're cast in, at the group you're working with, and you don't see anyone who's disabled, you're doing it wrong. Again, that seems to contradict with the whole invisible disabilities thing. So I won't use C, but if you're doing anything and there are no people who identify as disabled involved, you're doing it wrong. And you need to get those voices in the room. And you need to understand one voice is not enough. Nobody wants to do this alone. And if you hire a disabled person, they are not also your consultant, your educator, and your therapist. So if you hire someone with a disability and you know nothing about disability, also hire yourself an accessibility consultant who explains to you how to make that room accessible, who is someone that, the disabled person can go to and request accommodations and not have to deal with explaining that requesting accommodations is not an unfair advantage. So don't expect the disabled person to do your homework for you. And never forget multiple minorities. I think that when we think of disabled, like I said, we think of cute little happy snowflake angel white babies raising money for Shriners Hospital. And you need to be, I had a producer say to me, a character could be gay and disabled, gay and black, but he couldn't be gay, black, and disabled. They can be gay, black, and disabled. You can cast them for roles that are not written as disabled. And just be okay with someone being a multiple minority. I can't even tell you how many times I've had people be like, That's just too much. They're trans too. Isn't it enough they're disabled? The trans thing seems like a lot. So, like, accept the fact we are multiple minorities. We are adults. Speak to us like adults, even when we are nonverbal. If you encounter someone who's nonverbal, who has an interpreter with them, you look at the disabled person you're talking to, not the person interpreting. It's a fun trick. Learn it.
Yeah, it's we're kind of...
One last thing, because I
Okay,
totally forgot to do this. I did it wrong today. You all do it right. Start every Zoom panel you do by saying, for those of you who can't see me, I look like the Lost Kardashian. I have cinnamon skin, long black hair. I'm sitting in front of a bunch of books I would never read, but I want to promote. This is called an audio description, and it helps people who can't see be included.
Those are very powerful words, and I have so enjoyed our conversation. I just want to say thank you for taking some time, for joining us, for dropping some wisdom, for just sharing your story, and for being not an inspiration, but a real person who's just damn funny. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me, and I'm super excited that you have stuff going on every hour because I don't sleep, and that's going to be really fun. Enjoy the rest of the conference, and you all can find me on Maysoon.com.
Maysoon Zayid, everybody. Wonderful comedian, actress, dreamer, activist, advocate, and lover of Beyonce the cat. Thank you, Maysoon. Definitely go and check out all of her awesome materials and videos. And as we talked about early on in the show, every hour for the next 4 days, we are going to be releasing new content, new sessions on so many different topics. Visit nonobviousdiversity.com to check out all of the different topics, sessions that we've got, more than 200 speakers, 54 sessions, and we are about to get started with the first of them in just a few minutes. So thank you for joining me for this very special episode of the Non-Obvious Insights Show. I'm your host, Rohit Bhargava, reminding you to always stay non-obvious.